what I'm going to do is bring a bit of a different dimension to our discussion today, right? So it's, location is kind of what I'm going to focus on, but then how do you bring a new dimension that IBM is investing heavily in, which is weather, and then the cognition piece, right? So everybody talks about AI. We have a different spin on it. It's around cognition, which is cognitive, right? Learn as you go. So one thing we are trying to move as a company is, I've been covering this space for a while. There was a lot of talk about analytics, right? Then we were talking about insights. We are now moving towards outcomes, right? And we have realized that weather is a key dimension that impacts a lot of different businesses, impacts you as a consumer. And then we are actually harnessing the power of weather into location analytics, into AI, into cognition, and solving business use cases. So I think the key here is not just the data, right? We have solved the location problem to an extent, right? We have solved the weather problem, right? So we can do real-time forecasting, current conditions for any location in the world at a 500-meter resolution, right? So what that means for IBM, for those in AI, in analytics, is how do you unlock some of these use cases, right? So this slide kind of just shares the kind of problems we want to solve, right? Now, why weather and location, right? Mr. Pallav mentioned how he doesn't like to share his location on Twitter and so forth. One thing that not many people know is when you're checking weather on your smartphones, right? So we are the #1 weather app in the world, right? Apple phone, Samsung, they all have our weather app. Google, Facebook uses us as a weather source. Every time you're checking weather, you're actually sharing location with us, right? And not many people hesitate to share the location because they want the most accurate weather condition and forecast for where they are, right? And weather is part of our daily routine, right? We start the day with weather, right? If it's raining in Hyderabad, you know how your commute is going to look. And also consumer behavior, right? This is where we are unlocking these use cases. The way you act, what you buy, and just your consumer behavior, we feel there's a very deep connection between weather insights, location, and then, of course, all the other data that is coming through the enterprise. So what do we have, right? If you have an Apple phone, for example, right? If you just, I don't have to do a live demo. You can just open the Apple Weather app, and you're seeing our data, right? So we are actually one of the most downloaded apps in the world, and more than 100 million active users in real time that we are tracking, right? What does that mean? When you start applying these insights, these location insights and weather insights, we can unlock a lot of business value. This is what IBM is trying to do, right? We want to grow this to a $1 billion business in the next 3 years. So there's a lot of power in that, and I will give you some examples on how we are doing that. In terms of impact, Mr. Pallav mentioned energy, right? Energy forecasting is key. Agriculture, in terms of yield, irrigation management. You think about financial services, agri loans, for example, the risk that you carry on your books, and then, of course, aviation, and there are a lot of other businesses that are impacted by weather. And then, as you know, IBM has been very strong in the enterprise and the AI world, so we're bringing all of that together in real time to solve these use cases. What we try to kind of illustrate here is the scale, right? We process more than 26 billion API calls, right? So every time you open your app and you check weather, right, it is giving the most accurate forecast where you are, right? And we go down to a 500-meter resolution, right? So if you walk, say, a kilometer from here and you pull the app again, we are doing a fresh forecast for you. Now, the key thing there is location, right? We know where you are. And it's just kind of incredible the scale that you can start applying these insights. So this is just one example, and then Manoj, who's going to come after me, in fact, he's going to exemplify this simple use case, right? So as I said, we are doing real-time weather analytics, right, which was not possible 5 years ago. Analytics have become so powerful that we can do this today, right? We can actually deliver right messages. Where we know where you are, we know the environment around you, right? We know your purchase data, your history, your behavior, right? We can actually deliver right messages to you in real time. And then we have something called trigger-based, use cases, right? So based on all your historic behavior, weather patterns, location, we can predict, right? Weather is one of the few things that you can actually forecast, right? There are not many things you can forecast. So when you have a pattern and you start applying to the future, right? we can tell you in 3 days' time, based on what you did on a rainy day in Hyderabad, kind of actions you will be taking. Just imagine the impact to your business if you have that insight, right? So that's the kind of things we're trying to unlock. So I'll just touch on one thing, campaign effectiveness, right? We have found a deep correlation, right, between your historical behavior and what you're going to do, days from now. In fact, this is going to be a great segue into what Manoj will talk about, right, is the advertising use case. So again, the idea and the concept that we are driving is about outcomes in different industries, but even from a consumer behavior, it's just amazing how much data and insights you have unknowingly, right? You may not know how much of data has been collected. And one thing, the way I like to put it is the way Google has mapped the world, we have mapped the atmosphere, right? And when you bring those two together, right, the geospatial and the atmosphere, it's just amazing the kind of use cases you can drive. So I would like to dive deeper during the discussions, get your questions, your insights. But it is a direction IBM is taking, and for us, this is a powerful use case in terms of how analytics, AI, cognition can come together to solve real-time business problems. So, I think I beat the 10-minute mark. So, thank you so much for attending and joining the panelists.